Starting on a new project today, Briggs & Stratton model WMB. They use these little single-cylinder air-cooled engines on washing machines. You can tell it's for inside use. There's no air filter or anything on it. And there was a hose that hooked onto the exhaust pipe here, exhaust outlet. You ran a hose outside so Grandma didn't get asphyxiated with the exhaust fumes. The engine turns over. It's missing a spring to return the starting paw here. We'll fix that. First order of business, determine whether we've got any spark. I've already checked that there's no spark, so we'll have to pull this cover off. Shroud, just a couple screws in there. And like most of these little engines, the points condenser are behind the flywheel. There's a serial number. I don't know if it'll show up or not. Serial number 36361. Type number 9558. Like 87. On these WMBs, this nut is a left-handed thread. I've had some of this loosened up so it makes the video go a little faster. This is called a Bellevue washer. You can see it's not flat. What that does is kind of lock the nut onto the crankshaft. Tighten it down on this side and it kind of flattens that nut out, or washer out, acts like a spring. And then here we have the points. Here's a condenser. And these are a little bit different than the normal Briggs & Stratton points condenser. They're probably getting a little bit hard to find, so we're going to see if we can make these work. I'll set that up there so we can work on these points. What I've got is a little piece of 400 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to open those points up. Put that 400 grit sandpaper in there and just work it back and forth a little bit. That'll clean those contact points up, and that's usually all that's wrong with these that don't have any spark. If this doesn't work, we'll go a little bit further. We got them cleaned off. Now I'll fold that back over the other way and put this paper back in there and clean the clean the contacts where we sanded it off. Just a slight amount of corrosion in there, and it'll insulate those two contacts, and that you won't get any spark. Also on these little Briggs, there's a aluminum key, and a lot of times if that aluminum key is sheared just the slightest amount, that'll throw the magnetomagnets out of time with the breaker points. When the magnets pass the coil, the breaker points have to be aligned with those to produce a spark. And if that's sheared off just the slightest amount, or sheared a little bit, you won't get any spark because the engine is out of time. Of course, I dropped that key when I pulled the flywheel off, but I had some more of them over here in the cupboard. And that's all the key mounts to. Just a little aluminum key. We won't put the shroud and everything back on. You don't really need to. To test for spark. I'll zoom this in here a little bit and turn the light out. Maybe this spark will show up if we get one. We'll watch right here and see if we get a spark. Yeah, we're getting a good blue spark there. So that should take care of any ignition problems we have. This engine's missing the fuel tank, so I'll have to make a fuel tank, and it's just a small tank that's got a check valve inside of the tank. Then there's an 1/8 inch line that comes from the bottom of the carburetor or mixer here, runs into the tank. The engine will draw fuel up into the mixer, and that check valve will hold it in that tube. It's kind of a reservoir. We'll have to make a new fuel tank and check valve for it, but that shouldn't be any problem. I noticed when I was turning it over, I'll put my finger over the spark plug hole. There's no compression. So I suspect we've got a stuck valve. So we'll take the cylinder head off and see if that's the case. I'm 99% sure it is. And we've got the head off. We might as well take the valves out and grind them a little bit. And then we'll see what happens. This is the end of part number 1, the Briggs WMB restoration project.